Today, let's rank all of the 2021 Super Treasure Hunts from worst to best. Okay, so I know I don't have all of the Supers, so what I'm going to do is compare it with, have the regular of the Super for the ones that I don't have, and have those on the turntable. Except the Porsche Outlaw. I could not find my Golf Porsche, so we're gonna have a red one to take its place. But anyways, number 15, the worst Super of the year, was the Mazda Rx3. I am not a huge fan of white Supers. I think as a casting by itself, I think it looks really nice in white, but I was just never really all that crazy for white Supers. The only one I like that is a white Super is the CRX from 2020. And actually, you know what? I can't even lie. I don't mind this Super. But just comparing to the rest of this year, it's not a great car compared to the rest. Number 14 wasn't very far behind it. It was the N Corvette Z06. This is the second time we've seen a N Corvette as a Super. The last time we saw it was 2016's D-Case, where it was the 5-spoke Real Riders, actually PR5 Real Riders, and it was the hardtop. This time we have the convertible, and I'll be sure to have a photo of the Supers in the top left corner. This one was an underwhelming one compared to the rest of this year, and this is pretty good. Still a pretty good Super, just not compared to the rest. Number 13. This may be a bit controversial. It's the 300ZX Turbo in my eyes. And mind you, it's a very clean Super, and I do like JDM stuff. It's just, for me, the color for this car looks alright. It's just the casting that they chose to make it they made it a Super wasn't, I just don't think it was really Super material, but it was a clean Super. So that was the A-Case Super. If it was a Super, this would have been E-Case, this would have been F-Case. Let's move on to number 12. The L-Case Mercury Cougar. And I definitely think this time around that they did a better job of making it a Super. The last time it came out in the 2019 H-Case is a Super in a much darker green, and it just looked awful. But I think this one is a significant improvement, and I think the green looks really nice. It's just, comparing it to the rest of the year, it's not as nice, but still a very clean piece. Up next, number 11. A lot of people really like this one. For me, it's the Ford F1 from the 2021 N-Case. And personally, I think it's a little bit of an overrated Super. A lot of people really like this one, but I wouldn't say it's a bad Super. Spectraflame Purple wasn't a bad choice for it, but it's just not a usual color you would see on an old classic Ford truck. And that's what kind of threw me off of this one right away. But anyways, we are now in the top 10. We have the Mazda Rx-7. Another very clean Super. It was found, and there was like a silver version too that was getting out with like the gunmetal was not as strong on it, and there were some like silver looking ones. And I think that the Rx-7's a great casting. I just don't think it's the best Super we've seen this year. But anyways, it is time for number 9. Here we go. One of the very few Supers I actually did find. It was the Roger Dodger in that same color as the Rx-7 would have been. And I have the You Got It variation. And I do like this one. I know a lot of people didn't really like all that much, but I like it because it is based on a 73 Dodge Charger SE. And there's 2 other variations that we are aware of. One says Super, and the other one says Super Treasure Hunt. And this was part of the Mattel games, part of the C case. I don't think I mentioned, but the Rx-7 was part of D case. And it wasn't a bad Super. And now number 8. This may be a little controversial as well. I have the R8. This is the only R8 I found. Even out of the regulars, this one was really hard to come by. I got my chance to crack a couple of M cases. However, both cases were duds, but I did find a couple of little Red Express treasure hunts. However, compared to the rest of this, and I'm not taking anything away from this Super, I think it's a very clean Super. It's just, looking at this year, it was another really stacked year, and I'd say this is one of the best years for collecting Hot Wheels since I started in 2013. This year and 2020 were the 2 best years. Now, you're probably wondering, where's that Grand Sport Roadster? Here it is, at number 7. Yeah, this is pretty high up, I'll be honest. But I really love the paint on this one. And the only takeaway I have from it is the wheels. And that was a huge takeaway for a lot of people. But the wheels were really disappointing on this one. And there's an interesting story behind this Super. So I actually missed it from another collector by seconds at a store just before the new year of 2021. And then a couple months later, I go to a local dollar store and find it. So everything ended well at the end of the day. A very clean piece. And the only takeaway I have is the rims. And I know this is Derek's favorite Super, so definitely a sweet piece at that. If the wheels were black, I think this would have been a top 3 in my eyes, 100%. But anyways, time for number 6 is the Honda Civic Type R. And I had a lot of chances to get this Super, but none of the chances that I had were very successful. And this one was one of the very few that actually had extra decals on it. Like, so if the Super would have had the more of the HKS spikes on it, like the green and purple and red spikes. And this was a really cool casting, and I think it was a really smart idea to turn this one into a Super. And especially with HKS livery. And honestly, that would have made an incredible, it makes a very incredible Super for HKS cars. Alright, number 5 on my list. We are now in the top 5. It is the one car I couldn't find the actual regular of, but I know I have it. It is the Porsche Outlaw. And this is one I wish I would have found. Knowing how I am with Porsches, Porsches have become more sentimental since with my grandfather owning one. And the Porsche Outlaw looked really good in Golf livery. That was one I wish I would have got my hands on. And this is the Super that Derek found like a bunch of in a shipper. Like, he found 5 of them in a shipper, and he struggled with it for a long time before that. But that Super was a very clean one, just couldn't find the regular for this video. I know I have it somewhere. Number 4. You may think that this one's a little high up as well, but it's the Nova Gasser. Now, I think the Nova Gasser as a casting was really good, and I think it's a very great Super. And it really does look good in that dark blue. And it's quite a mean looking Super. That's one I wish I would have found. And this is definitely a Super someday I would not mind getting. And because it looks really, really cool in that blue. Alright, so number 3 was a very popular one. It was a fan favorite. The 510. And I mean, this top 3 was very tough. This guy was really just about number 1 for most of the year. And it was tied with one more Super. And then until one came out later this year. A very cool casting, one of my favorite castings to collect, as you know. And quite a valuable Super, a very hyped up casting, a very hyped up Super. And do I think it's overrated? Yes. but I do think it looks really good. Alright, time for number 2. Number 2 and number 1 I was really contemplating on. I didn't know which order they were going to go in. But number 2 is the GT500. And I love Spectra Flame Gold. I am a huge sucker for it, especially on the ID Charger from earlier in the year. And it looks really good on that Mustang. And it's definitely a super I would not mind finding or getting someday, because it is just beautiful. They did this casting very well. It's a very clean cast. And alright, by process of elimination, you know what number 1 is. I recently found it. One of my favorite castings to collect. My top 3 castings of all time for me. It is the Shelby Cobra. And I freaked out when I found this super. And I am so happy they made this super. I wish it would have been blue, but it would have looked a lot like the RLC Cobra. So I don't mind it here in a beautiful Spectra Flame Red. And this was the Q-Case Super. And I think it was the best way that Hot Wheels has ended off a year in quite some time for supers. Since like the 2019 Porsche 911 GT3 RS. But I plan to do more of these rankings videos on super treasure hunts from previous years. So expect that you'll start seeing them really soon. My next one I'm going to do is 2020, another one of my favorite years for supers. And stay tuned for that. I hope you enjoyed this video. Feel free to let me know which ones were your favorites for the year and how you would have ranked them. And I hope you guys find some more of these older supers at some point. Happy hunting and stay safe.